Aloha! Today we are going to talk about three properties, empty set, identity, and the powerful 10 that can help you with multiplication. Let's take a look at empty set. I have a couple statements up here. It says that any number plus 0 is equal to that number. It also says that any number minus 0 is equal to that number. Let's look at a real life example. You have $5 and you go to the store to buy a chicken bento. But when you get to the store, you realize that the chicken bentos are now $6. So you ask your cousin, "Oh, can I have some money, brah?" And he say, "No more, cousin, sorry." And so he gives you $0. So do you end up getting that chicken bento? No, you end up hungry, but $5 in your pocket. And we could even put it that another way. You had $5 in your pocket, but you didn't have to spend any money because you couldn't afford the bento, so you still have $5 in your pocket. Let's take a look at multiplication because it's a little bit different. This statement here says that any number times 0 is equal to 0 and that you cannot divide by 0. So let's look at another story. You go out 5 times to the pond to fish, but each time you no more luck. You don't bring home any fish. So 5 times, no fish each time, that is 0 fish. And here we can also see why you cannot divide by 0. Because if you tell everybody, "Oh, you each get a share of the fish," and there's nothing to share, everybody's going to get mad. Let's look at the identity property. Now, the identity property for addition is the same thing as the empty set property. Because if you look at that $5 bill that wanted to be a chicken bento so bad, unless you can add another dollar or two to it, it will never be anything but a $5 bill. It's its identity. And we can see from our examples that A is equal to A and 5 is equal to 5. So for addition, the empty set property is the identity property of addition. Now let's look at the identity property of multiplication and this set of statements. Any number multiplied by 1 is equal to itself. Any number divided by 1 is equal to itself. And any number divided by itself is equal to 1. Let's look at it like this. 5 musubis were given to one person, and that person gets 5 musubis. Or 5 musubis were shared by one person, and that person still ended up with 5 musubis. But if we had 5 musubis shared amongst 5 people, each person would get 1 musubi. The point to remember about the identity property of multiplication is that it says the name of the factor that is not the 1. Let's look at the powerful 10. You already know that all you have to do to find multiples of 10 is skip count. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And you probably have heard that to find a product of 10, all you have to do is add a 0 to the right of the number. How does that work, though? Let's look at these statements. To find products of 10, use these multiplication strategies. use the EmptySet property in the ones place, and our EmptySet property of multiplication says that any number times 0 is 0. And it also says to use the identity property in the tens place, and the identity property says that any number times 1 is equal to 1. Now, let's combine what we know about properties with what we know about the base 10 system. In the base 10 system, 10 is king. Its kingdom is named after it, the base 10 system. And that is because everything is based on groups of 10s. You have your ones place, and 10 groups of 1 is 10, and 10 groups of 10 is 100, and 10 groups of 100 is 1,000, and 10 groups of 1,000 is 10,000, and it goes on and on. Let's look at what happens when we add more 7s to this number. There I have it, 10 sevens. It looks really messy, doesn't it? And we really can't calculate that value. So instead of trying to count up all these sevens, we're just going to say we have 10 groups of 7. That's our identity property in the tens place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of all these other 7s. We're going to get rid of all these other 7s. There we go. And we just add this 0 to the ones place. And that's how it works. Now, we can look at it, 7 times 10, and just put our identity property in the ones place and our EmptySet property in the ones place, because now there is no value in the ones place. We could also continue to skip count, and we could count up. Sometimes it takes a long time skip counting, so you're going to have to use these other strategies. Now, just to get a little advanced here, I want to show you one more thing. The strategy of moving the digits to a new place can work in many situations. What if we're not timesing by 10? What if we're timesing by 100? Well, in this case, instead of 1 0, you would add 2 zeros, because now there is nothing in the ones place and there is nothing in the tens place. The only value you have is in the hundreds place. And so 8 groups of 100 are 800. When you have 8 groups of 100, you have nothing in the ones place, nothing in the tens place, but you have 8 groups in the hundreds place. Well, I hope that gave you a new way of looking at things. Have a good day, and thank you for being an empowered learner.